Watch to the end of the video for today's featured animal. In the not-so-distant future, Aries leaves her house for a 5-day camping trip to planet McPa, almost forgetting her passport. A robber steals her pocketbook at the spaceport while she sings happily to herself, but a young guy intervenes and subdues the thief. A number of patrol bots carry the young man away as Aries praises him for his assistance. After she meets up with the group and introductions are carried out. Despite still being carried by the patrol bots, the young man approaches them from behind and announces himself as Kanata Hashijima, their final member. He also assigns himself as the captain of the group, much to some objections by the other students. The group board the ship for their 4-hour trip to planet McPa, when everyone is let to roam freely throughout the cabin. Once again, Aries approaches Kanata and expresses gratitude for his assistance. Not long after, the gang steps outside to explore planet McPa, after the spaceship has landed and has given them some time to take in the wide surroundings. When Luca identifies a peculiar white intelligent globe that appears to be moving toward them, Kanata tells everyone to run and reactivate their helmets, but they are all apprehended and transported into outer space by the intelligent globe that chased them down. Or up in this case, they see an abandoned spaceship in the distance and propel themselves toward it. But Aries was unable to, due to her broken propellers. Olga points out that Aries is still stuck outside. Kanata goes out to rescue her but had to unclip himself from the ship because the cord was not long enough. Kanata runs out of propelling juice, so the group works together to save them both. Because Kanata's trajectory was a bit off and would have slipped right past the ship. She thanks them multiple times, but Zack points out that the planet they're currently hovering over, which they all thought was planet McPa, is actually an ice-cold lifeless planet, and that they are 5,012 light-years away from the original location on which they were sucked away from. Shocking everyone, they make the hypothesis that this could all be part of the training camp and the supervisors are watching them. But Aries points out that it was Kanata who thought for them to put on their helmets, making them realize if they hadn't done that, they would have all died instantly. Aries comes up with a plan for them to make their way back home by traveling from one planet to the next. To stock up on supplies, the long and perilous journey home aboard Astra strengthens their bonds and leads to fresh character revelations. They eventually come to realize that the stakes of their journey are much higher than any of them could have ever imagined. The students reach Villaverse, a remote planet, which serves as their first point of replenishment. The pupils come across unusual wildlife, such as trampoline trees and parachute plants. The students come across the enigmatic sphere once more but manage to avoid it, this time thanks to Aries' photographic memory, as they go around collecting supplies for the next phase of their journey. When a trampoline tree suddenly appears as night falls and a wingless beast takes Funisha. She is stuck. Kanata leaps onto the tree and snags a javelin Luca left on one of the trees, in order to save Funisha despite the risks. As Quittery and Funisha work through their problems, Kanata explains that his father gave him the training necessary to become a world-class athlete. As the students prepare to depart Villaverse, Zack tells Kanata that he learned the Astra's communications system had been compromised, with a member of the group most likely being the perpetrator. Kanata tries to determine who the traitor is covertly as the Astra heads to Shumor, the next resupply stop, but he lacks sufficient information about everyone to do so. Kanata surmises that someone wants them all killed and warns everyone about the potential traitor hiding among them. The most doubt is cast on Olga when he admits that he is the vice principal's son at their school. However, the ship is abruptly hit by micrometeorites, causing the hull to crack and the main power source to be rendered inoperable. Without power, the Astra is caught in the gravity of Shumor and starts to fall in an uncontrolled manner. The team works quickly to plug the holes and attach a backup generator to the ship's gravity controls. Olga is then forced to use a glue gun to destroy the small flying alien thing after the gravity controller's safety feature detects it. Zack barely manages to land the Astra safely after the power is restored, and Olga is shown to be concealing a real handcuff. The students decide not to aggressively investigate for the time being after concluding that the traitor had a desire for survival as well. Given their joint effort to keep the Astra from crashing, they arrive to Shumor, start looking for food, and come upon enormous, amiable creatures they refer to as gruppies. Unfortunately, they learn that the gruppies are inedible and that the majority of the edible plants on Shumor deteriorate very fast, making them unfit for long-term storage, leaving the group without enough sustenance for the next leg of the journey. Yun tells the crew to leave her behind and leaves the ship. Kanata sets off to look for her and succeeds in doing so. Yunhua recalls that her mother emotionally tortured her and instilled in her the idea that it was preferable to stay out of other people's eyes. All of the students, with the exception of Kanata and Yunhua who were donning their spacesuits, were infected at that very moment by the toxic spores released by the enormous mushrooms dispersed around the globe. Kanata and Yunhua recall giving a sick gruppy a yellow mushroom to treat it, and Charles tells them that there should be an antidote mushroom to neutralize the poison. Yunhua starts singing to comfort her sick friends as Kanata gathers the antidote mushrooms since Kanata encouraged her to follow her dream. The antidote mushrooms are brought back by Kanata, who heals his friends while Yunhua develops more self-assurance. Day 49 of being lost in space. The group arrives to the paradise-like oceanic world of Aerospace. Ares is persuaded to try and confess to Kanata after Quittery starts making fun of her affections for him. However, Kanata misinterprets Ares' comments, which makes her angry. While fishing together, Luca tries to persuade Olger to open up, but Olger is taken aback when he discovers who Luca's father is. Olger shows up with his gun later that evening. While the group is enjoying a picnic to commemorate their final night on Aerospace and holds Luca at gunpoint, Olger tells everyone that he thinks Marco killed his older brother in retaliation for looking into his misconduct. He wants to murder Luca, Marco's oldest son and presumed successor. In retaliation, Luca then says that he was born with both male and female biology and is therefore not Marco's heir. In addition, he had been covertly adopted into the Esposito family before his illness was recognized. And when his younger brother was born, he was all but shunned. Olger backs off after realizing Luca is an outsider from his family. Much like he is, a tsunami follows a sudden earthquake that strikes the island. Olger and Luca are lost in the flood, but the majority of the group is able to board the Astra safely. Olger makes an effort to give himself up in order to protect Luca, but Kanata ultimately saves both of them. Olger apologizes to Luca as they depart Aerospace and promises to make it back home in time to look into his brother's death. Then, Zack raises the notion that Olger's brother may have discovered a scheme that goes well beyond governmental corruption, explaining why they would all have been singled out for attack, since Olger is the only person who understands how to handle the gun. Kanata permits Olger to keep it since he has decided to follow in his brother's footsteps and become a journalist. They move on, and on day 75 of being lost in space they arrive on the following planet, Icarus. The only safe spot to forage is the area immediately between the two extremes, since Icarus's rotation is precisely synchronized with its orbit around the sun, making one side of the planet always scalding hot and the other always bitterly cold. Unfortunately, when they look for a place to land, a large carnivorous plant attacks the Astra, causing it to sustain serious damage that prevents it from reaching space. With the Astra damaged, they will have to accept making Icarus their new home because, as Zack points out, they lack the materials or parts to fix the damage, leaving everyone in complete hopelessness. That evening, God favors them as they come across what is none other than an older version of Astra. Unbeknownst to them, what they would find aboard this abandoned ship is not missing treasure, but something just as valuable: a human who has been in cold sleep aboard that ship for a number of years. They would soon come discover the untold truth of the human history that has been kept secret for generations.
And that is it for our anime recap episode today. Time to check out our featured animal, Sagittarius serpentarius, commonly referred to as secretary bird. These are the largest birds of prey on the entire planet because they can grow up to be 4 feet tall. Unlike the ostrich, they can fly but still spends the majority of their time on the ground. Venomous snakes seems to be their favorite food, which is odd seeing how it's a snake. Just like everything else, they go as far as to swallow snakes whole. I really can't understand this. Some even believe that they are partially immune to snake venom. They are commonly found in the open grasslands and savanna of the sub-Saharan region of Africa. Secretaries are the definition of death by kicking. Each one of their kicks carry 5 times their own body weight and are delivered faster than you can blink. A sub to the channel wouldn't be lost, so I can find you next time. Look after yourself.